Okay, I say this with all the love, but if you do not start right now, you are going to be so much further behind your January 2026 version of you. And no, this video is not going to be how to manifest or become this new gorgeous new year, new you kind of vibe. And it's also not going to be anything to do with New Year's resolutions. It is purely about getting our shit together so that by the time January comes around, we're not even overthinking it. It's just normal. We are already so far in the mindset and in the workflow of being like, yeah, this is life. This is what we're doing. This is my routine. So if either one of these following statements were one of your goals this year, this video, I hope, will be insightful, give you the little kick up the bum that you needed. If you said that at some point in 2025 you were going to start creating content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever platform, you just had it as a goal that you were going to start creating content, but you haven't yet. Or maybe your goal was to finally become consistent with the content that you're creating and not fall victim of that ever-evolving burnout loop. But we all know that at some point we all will get burnt out, even a tiny bit. So that is normal, but your goal in 2025 was to be consistent and you just felt like you haven't really followed through yet. Or maybe one of your 2025 goals could have been numbers based. Maybe you wanted to reach 1,000 followers on Instagram, or you wanted to make X amount in sales. Obviously this is going to be less of a money video, less of a sales video, but I know that if we're looking at content as a whole, good content means good money. So it's pretty much all the same. So if any of those points, or maybe even all of them, went ding-a-ling-a-ling in your mind, I think you know that you should keep watching. What I am going to totally walk you through is an end of year lock-in plan. And look, obviously you could be watching this video in the middle of 2026 by the time you find it. It doesn't mean that this will only work for November and December of 2025. This little routine and guide and the tips inside them will work whenever, at any point in time. As long as all of the social media platforms in the world don't just suddenly get deleted, it will still work. So just so you know, you can follow this guide whenever you feel like you need to. And also just to give you a little bit of insight into me, my content, and my goals this year. In the year 2025, there are definitely a lot of things that I achieved in terms of goals for myself, for my business, and for my content. So I am really proud of a lot of things. However, there are still a few things that I haven't yet achieved. So I want to focus on those things. One of the things that I have not yet achieved, or you could say mastered, is being consistent. And yes, this may seem counterintuitive because I teach how to create content, how to be consistent, how to edit videos, blah, 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 blah. So I teach all the things, but I do not consider myself to be an absolute perfectionist with all of them. There's always things I and we can be learning and improving on, no matter how much of a professional you are or how many years you've been doing this. So on the consistency side for me, I have all the systems, all the routines that I know are realistic and work for me. But the thing that stops me and stops most people from being consistent constantly is life and mindset. And I am an incredibly anxious, busy, overwhelmed girl. So depending on how I fluctuate throughout the month, throughout the year, there are definitely certain periods where life just happens and I just wasn't fully prepared enough. But every single time that happens, I'm learning something new about what I would do differently next time to prepare better for that so that I'm not going to fall behind. Because we all know that feeling when you do fall behind, when you're not being consistent. It's such a draining and quite daunting feeling because you know you've just posted your last piece of content. You don't have anything else planned. You don't have anything else filmed or edited. So there's going to be either a big rush for your next piece of content, which can also throw lots of spanners in the works with life, healthy routine, mindset, business, work, family, all that kind of stuff. So when you are prioritizing your content and not doing it with prioritizing, a healthy work-life balance, it sometimes can get a little bit difficult. So yes, you can be in a rush, you can create a piece of content that day, but also it can be very easy if life is happening, if things are going on, for you to just put your content on the back burner. Again, it totally depends the kind of person that you are, your goals, what you're prioritizing. So obviously this can totally fluctuate. Over the year 2025 for me, it was going up and down like this. There's been lots of periods where I've been absolutely on it and I'm so proud of myself for it. And I know if I'm looking at my analytics, my engagement over the year, the periods where I am the most consistent is the periods where I have grown the most. So the numbers will always speak for itself. But I am never going to be someone to say, post 7 times a week, 2 times a day, every single day for the rest of your life, because even me saying that out loud, that sounds draining. The reason that I create content, and I think the reason that a lot of us create content, or at least should be, mainly is because we do it because we love what we're sharing. We love what we're talking about. The flip side to it, if you're someone who really, really enjoys actually creating the content itself, is because you love the creation element. You love the editing, you love the filming, and that is quite a satisfying process for you. So you can only imagine if you're doing something, obviously, given how much you love it, that's amazing. But if you're doing it every single day, really, really, really pushing your energy and your capacity to its absolute maximum, there is going to be a point where you reach burnout. And then your consistency loop is going to go. So this happens, it's happened to me. So if this is you right now when you're listening to this and you feel the same, I'm giving you a hug. Know that it's okay. We're not perfect. A lot of what we see online is also a little bit daunting and scary and a little bit draining sometimes, because we just see everybody showing up as their best self. And we're constantly seeing so much content, so much video, so many beautiful carousels and people showing up on their Instagram stories and posting long form YouTube videos. So there's constantly so much content out there. So it's very easy if you are in this little phase of, I'm behind, I haven't shown up in a while, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, oh my God, I feel awful. It's totally understandable to feel like that when social media is what it is. But I just want to let you know, we are literally just seeing the outside perspective of what someone's showing us on social media. We don't know how long they've stayed up all night to get that video edited. We don't know if that person has a team that's doing it for them. We also don't know if that one video that we saw is maybe the only video that they've even posted in the last 2 months, and they're feeling the exact same that we are. All you need to do is to stop focusing on what you're seeing and focus more on you. If it is a big and large enough priority for you to actually prioritize your content, then what are you waiting for? You should absolutely make that happen, and there isn't any reason why you can't, even if you have a 9 to 5, even if you're a super busy mom or dad and you have a family, or if you even live with your family. All of the excuses can obviously come under the sun. I know, I've said them myself, but there isn't any excuse as to why something can't work for you. So together, we are going to make 2026 your year 100%. I believe it. But there isn't any reason why we can't start now. And I know the sooner that you start, the more further ahead you will be. And tiny point on that, I am so proud of where I am today with my social media, with my content. I started at absolute zero. I was so uncomfortable showing up on the camera, using my voice, seeing my face on a camera, being confident about what I'm talking about, not knowing what the hell to do, not knowing how to edit a video. So I started at zero. And now I am where I am. And I'm so proud of where I am. And for you, wherever you are in that journey, you cannot expect for what you're creating now to be whatever I'm creating now. You have to start at the bottom. You have to figure out what you need to learn. What do you need to improve on? And in my opinion, it's also really fun and enjoyable as a viewer, as a consumer, when you see someone, when you're following someone, and you can actually see their journey of them slowly improving their quality, improving their confidence in how they're speaking. I think it's quite fun. So if that makes it feel a little bit better for you, so that there's not this pressure of, oh my goodness, I need the best camera, I need the best mic, I need to totally understand like what my products are and what my message is and blah, 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 blah. Totally fine. Those are all obviously important things, but they don't have to come straight away. So I am going to walk you through a little bit of a plan. This should hopefully be a little bit quick fire of what you can do right now. This will apply to anyone who is a beginner, or even if you're already creating content. Even for those who have been creating content for quite a while, maybe you've actually had some really good successes with your social media accounts, but maybe you've taken like a little bit of a break, or you're feeling like your engagement is flopping a little bit. This is essentially a reset routine for anyone at any time of the year. But right now, because it's end of 2025, let's go. Because I want us to start 2026 like absolute baddie. Confident girls who know what they're talking about on camera. The first thing I need you to do, dedicate an hour, maybe longer, depending on how long it takes for you to get into the headspace. If you can get into flow state, beautiful, amazing, do all the things that you can to get there to do this. But I want you to do a deep dig into your vision, into your why. Who are you speaking to? What are you building? Who are you creating for? Why are you posting on social media? Essentially, what is your why? And this also comes back to You should love what you're doing. You should love what you're doing. You should love what you're talking about. I think the things that you should be talking about on social media should be what you are passionate about. Doesn't have to necessarily mean that because you're a software engineer, you have to talk about software engineer things. That's not the case at all. If social media is your long-term goal, crack your content and go viral, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to talk about what you're necessarily skilled at or good at. If you're a software engineer, but you're really, really, really passionate about the gym, or you're really passionate about baking, there is no reason why you can't just start making content about baking or about the gym. Because especially I think for those who already are very skilled in something, if you've been doing, like, let's say the software engineer example, let's say you've been a software engineer for 12 years, you know, you are very, very skilled at what you do. It's easy to then look at your hobbies or your passions and be like, oh God, well, I'm just not much of a professional. Like, I don't think I should really be talking about that because I'm not a professional baker, or blah, 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 or I'm not a personal trainer, so I can't really be talking about these things. Wrong. There is no reason. It's actually quite refreshing for viewers, consumers who are at the same stage as you. Maybe they're also software engineers and they're starting from zero and they really want to learn how to bake. It's almost a little bit more comforting when there's someone who's a bit more of an amateur. They're at a stage of figuring it out and sharing their journey, and then the viewer just tags along with them. It almost feels a little bit more relatable, a little bit more comforting, as opposed to following this 20-step routine. It also just brings an element of realness. So from that, all I want you to take away is that if you're not 100% sure about the kind of content that you're creating, that is totally fine. Do a little bit of exploration, put some prompts on the screen that you can screenshot and, you know, do a little bit of thinking on. But I would just do some journaling. Get out some paper, answer questions. What are you passionate about? What do you do that others don't do? What could you talk about for hours that for others may feel like a chore? What do you do that people don't really know about? Again, you want to be creating content about the things that you're passionate about, because otherwise it may very well lead to burnout. So that is the most important thing. For someone who's already creating content, this may even still be the case. Like, you may be creating content and you're putting it out there. You're being consistent. You're pushing your boundaries and trying new things, but it still always feels a little bit icky. There's something inside you that just feels like, ugh, it just doesn't feel right. Maybe this could be a reason. Maybe it may just mean that you're not creating the right kind of content. For example, I've created a lot of content in my time. I used to be a makeup artist, so I started out creating makeup tutorials on YouTube, also on Instagram. That was a whole whirlwind. I also wanted to do the whole fashion-y kind of styling thing, so I created lots of different videos on thrifting and how to put outfits together, all that kind of stuff on YouTube, also, and on Instagram and TikTok. Also, I've done the whole kind of day in the life, vlogger kind of vibe on all the platforms. Also have created videos on YouTube about the tattoos that I have, and those weirdly performed really well, but that's obviously not what I wanted to create content about. And eventually I found the thing that worked really well for me and felt the best for me, naturally. That may take time, and I don't want you to feel like you have to be stuck in that thinking phase, because if you're not 100% sure, I get that. Obviously the best case scenario is for you to know, so that you have absolute clarity on what you're building, who you're creating for, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not sure, the best thing that you can be doing is to just start creating. Create a new Instagram account or a new TikTok account and just purely use it as an experiment. Even if it means that you're going to be messy with the pieces of content that you're creating, who cares? If it's literally just an experiment, maybe through all these tests and trials on your experiment Instagram or TikTok account, there could be one video that you create. I don't know, maybe you're creating videos about making recipes, farm animals, carpentry, fitness routines, but maybe one of those things actually ended up feeling the best. And then, in the future, you create another account, and then now you're just solely doing fitness content, or you're solely doing food content, that kind of thing. So for step one, do as much digging as you possibly can to clarify what your vision is. Look at least 12 months into the future. This isn't a 12, 1, 2 year, 5 year plan, no, but I know how important it is to try and figure out what you're aiming for, even if you can't figure out all of the steps in between yet, because yeah, that's normal. We'll hopefully figure that out together. So step 1, clarify that vision. Step 2, you are going to learn the absolute basics with video editing. And if you already feel like you've got video editing nailed, amazing, you can skip to the next chapter. Or if you do feel like you have video editing nailed, but the whole, process of creating a piece of content takes you so long, and it also stresses you out, and you also constantly end up right back in that loop of burnout, I would probably recommend you totally scale back the kind of editing that you're doing. If you're, creating videos that end up taking you lots of time, the simplest thing that you can do is to create a more simple edit. And it doesn't mean that the video is suddenly going to perform badly because you haven't, spent 3 hours editing a video. That doesn't need to be the case at all, because I think you all know very well there are so many videos on every single social media platform that are either just like clips, literally some are just clips, like no sound effects, no text, no captions, and they still perform so well. So let's walk through a very basic editing workflow that you can use. Even for beginners, this will work, no problem. It doesn't matter what editing platform you're using. You could be doing this in app, but you could also be using, editing tools like CapCut, Final Cut Pro, DaVinci, whatever. And this also applies to any type of video, talking to camera, and a voiceover with clips. So imagine it's a talking to camera video. I want you to upload that video into your editing software. And the first and only thing that you need to do here is cut down your clips. So what you're doing is you're playing your video, you're listening through, and then you're going to be cutting out portions. Maybe there's a break in between what you're saying. Maybe if you've messed it up or if you've repeated your sentence a couple of times, you just want to be listening through what you're saying and cutting out any of the crap. The ums, the ahs, filler words, any long periods where maybe you've taken a breath or it sounds a bit like, I don't know, there's background noise. You're just cutting out the crap. What we're doing here is called the rough cut. And then what you're working through in whatever editing software that you're using is your timeline. So you're literally just running through all the clips on the timeline. And personally, on my timeline, I like to make the cuts between what I'm saying super tight. Mainly because this makes it quite engaging for the person who's watching, especially for someone who doesn't know me, because it means that there's less blank space in between a sentence. Because if there is blank space, it's an opportunity for anyone on a short form platform to scroll away to the next video. So all I do is cut the segments so that everything is really squished together, and it just makes it feel quite engaging. And also a very easy thing to do as well. Anybody could do this. To make it easier, I like to use the Command B buttons on my keyboard as like a little shortcut for when I'm doing my splitting. Also, I listen through my footage in speed. So I hit the L key on my keyboard, and as I'm playing it, it runs it in like 2 times speed. So obviously you sound like a psycho, but it is so much quicker to run through and make your cuts, especially if you're someone who is repeating your sentences or taking longer breaks in between. And especially if it's for long form content, because obviously you have a lot of footage to get through. So that is what I would do. The second thing that you need to do in your edit is to add auto captions. For any kind of content that you're posting on any platform really, apart from long form YouTube, I think you should be adding captions. 2 reasons. 1, a lot of people watch their content on mute, so instantly it's going to grab their attention because it's something to look at. But also it means that for those who don't have the sound on, they can still watch along. Like they could be in work, they could be with their family, they could be, in a restaurant at sitting in a table and they don't want to have the sound on. So give your viewer as many opportunities to still be able to watch and not swipe away. And reason number 2 why you add captions is because it's visually cute. It just adds a layer of your personality and your style with minimal effort. It could be the font that you use for your business or your brand, a favorite color, or a color that shows up a lot in your content, just to tie it all up together. I just think when you add captions on a video, it looks so cute. And the final totally optional thing that you could be doing in this editing process is to add music. And you can do this wherever you are actually editing your videos. In CapCut, they have some copyright-free options that you can choose. If you're editing in app, you'll just select music directly from the app, like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And the final thing that you could do to spice up a video is to add some sound effects. It's just if you want to add another little layer to accentuate a point of something that you're saying. But again, totally optional. And I think if you are burnt out with what you're already creating and it takes you so much time, or if you're starting from scratch and you have no idea what you're doing, starting with the most simple, pared back, like basic edit is the best thing that you could do for yourself. Because as long as you're focusing on quality, lighting, and crispiness in the overall footage, and obviously, value and quality in what you're saying, then there's no reason why you need to do this crazy, complicated edit. When really, the juicy goodness is actually you and what you're saying. The next thing I need you to do to get your content already 5 steps ahead of 2026 or, the next season of your life is to plan a bunch of your content. This obviously will totally depend on what kind of content that you're creating, how many pieces of content that you actually plan on posting a month. But let's imagine that you want to post 3 times per week. So that's 12 pieces of content for your month. I would love if you could at least plan your December content. Get that nailed down so you have such a strong understanding of what you're creating. And to be realistic, I would love if you could at least dedicate half a day to this, because it sometimes can take a while to get yourself into the mindset to actually plan your content, to script what you want to say, to come up with good ideas that aren't just like surface level. So really take your time when you're doing this, because obviously the planning is like the foundational piece to creating content. And then when you're filming and you're editing, it just ties it all beautifully together. Then I want you to do some batch creating. I think the best case scenario with the content that you've planned, let's say you've planned your December 12 pieces of content, the best thing that you could do is to at least batch half of that. So you've got 6 pieces of content ready to go. This will really depend on your energy levels, how much time you actually have, again, how long things are taking you to film, to edit, but maybe you could even batch a full month's content in like a day, 2 days. Because if you can be incredibly organized and well prepared, maybe you could even get all of this done in like a 2-3 day period. And then that could literally be all of your content for the next month, maybe 2 months, pretty much sorted. And because with this new routine and this guide that you're following, you're gonna have a very simple editing style. I would love if you could also batch edit your content. The main reason why is because it can be so easy to get caught up in what you're doing, especially if you've allocated like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours to sit down and get your editing done. If you're editing a piece of content and you're like, ooh, is this right? Maybe I could add another thing here, or maybe I can actually change the song, which obviously is not what we want, because the goal is to be efficient and be quick with what we're doing. So what I'd love you to do instead is to allocate a day to edit all of the content that you've batch created, so that all you are going to need to do after this is literally just come up with a caption and press post. Sounds amazing. Obviously, it sounds great. There are so many layers to this. There is so much more that I could tell you to do, tell you to focus on, get you to think about, and open your mind. But you've come to this video clearly because you feel fed up with where you are right now. And I totally get it, because I've been there a billion times, and I know that I will probably get there at some point in the future. And what I want is for you and I to be able to come back to this video and know that we have a little bit of a workflow, a little bit of a step-by-step that we can watch and then go and implement on our lives with our content. So honestly, the most important thing that you can be doing is to start prioritizing actually taking action towards that goal that you set out in 2025. If you wanted to start creating content, or you wanted to be consistent, or you wanted to get a brand deal or make more money through the content that you're creating, that's not just gonna happen and like poof out of thin air. You actually have to start doing things and doing things on a regular basis to get good, to put stuff out there for people to understand what you're about and to feel like they want to follow along and, join you on the journey that you're kind of taking them with. So your very simple, quick formula that I could have told you in 10 seconds is to start creating content now and do it as much as you possibly can. Obviously with all of the best intention behind it. So your homework right now is to go and do this and make the next season's version of you so proud. Because I wish, looking back on my journey, that I started so much sooner. However, it is easy to say that. If I reflect on that more, I had to go through all the different things, all the different types of content that I created to eventually find something that worked and that felt good for me. So sometimes this is just the way that life is, and the time for you is going to come. You can trust me on that. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you feel excited and exhilarated for, you know, obviously end of the year, but also a new year. 2026 is crazy that we have a new year coming around so soon. Oh my god, I can't believe it. But I think what I said at the beginning of the video still stands. Obviously it's so exciting when you have a new year. Like, I love making vision boards and setting all these goals and having all these intentions, but I hate that that is just the biggest focus of January. Why can't we be doing all these things throughout the year? So obviously right now it's the end of 2025. Let's not just totally forget about 2025. We still have so many things that we could still be doing and could still be achieving in this time period. And I'm doing it with you. So we are in this together. And the only way that we can do it is by literally just putting our big girl trousers on and actually doing the scary thing and creating the content and whatever else inside that is the thing that you keep putting off. We just have to do it. Lots more to come. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you are in a period where you are going to do this, where you are going to be, you know, the boss of your next few months, comment below. Let me know where you are, what stage you're at, what your plan is, what your goals are. Honestly, I think it would be so fun to hear like what your thoughts are. Don't forget to subscribe, like if you enjoyed, and we will see you in next week's video.